Every now and then I meet people and I talk to them and I get to listen about their financial plans. What are they doing? What are the things that they are thinking about? And when I see all these things that I hear from people, I realize that most people do not make long term financial plans. Most people just have short term plans with short term gains and simply move on. Why should you have a long term plan? Having a long term plan is like having a radar for a ship or a radar for a plane. You cannot be heading anywhere without being able to direct all your effort. Without knowing how to direct your effort, you cannot be able to plan ahead. You cannot be able to leverage the opportunities that you have to be able to allow you to achieve great things if you do not have a plan. People do not have plans. People think about plans that do not stretch beyond a year. You talk to somebody and they tell you, "Oh, I'm just thinking about going for holiday. Oh, I just want to buy this new gadget, new car, new thing." You want something short term. You want to get quick fixes, but you do not want to look at the larger picture. Sometimes looking at the larger picture allows you to avoid some of these short term pitfalls. So it is important that you have a long term financial plan. A long term financial plan means something that you want to achieve in 5 years, in 10 years going forward. So it must be something that is concrete. It has to be something that has several steps. Probably it's going to cost you a lot more money, but will allow you to be able to formulate short-term plans to be able to achieve it. So it could be something like, I want to retire early, or I want to have financial security, or it could be something like, I want to have more than enough to be able to pay for school fees, for education for my children abroad. It's something long term, something big, and something that is beyond 5 years going forward. Having that long term plan for most people allows them to be financially grounded. Having many short-term plans gives you short wins, but it does not give you long-term growth. You need to have long-term growth. Long-term growth allows you to be better off financially. Remember, you can be planning for small things, but because you don't have a long-term plan, you do not have something that you're doing now and now and now. Having short-term plans is good because you achieve something, but having you see yourself achieving things quickly and have the sight to be able to do it. But not having a long-term plan allows you to lack direction in your financial affairs. A lot of people are not doing well financially just because they do not have a specific direction that they are going into. So you should have and formulate long-term plans. And here I'm here to speak about how you go about it. The first thing that you need to understand is you need to make goals. You need to make goals that you need to know, what am I going to do? Those plans have to include something that you want to do. Remember, they have to be specific. What do you want to do? Do I want to buy a house? Do I want to build a house? Do I want to take my children to study abroad? You have to have a goal. Then this goal has to be specific. Specify your goal. This is the goal that I want to achieve. It has to be measurable. This is how much I need to be able to get to be able to do this thing. You need to be realistic. You don't need to start thinking about buying a big cruise ship, yet you do not see the foreseeable ability to be able to achieve it in the near future or even in several decades. So you need to have a plan that is realistic, because if it is too big, it can frustrate you and make you lose direction because you are frustrated in your attempt to achieve it. It has to be time bound. How many years do you want to achieve this thing? If you have all these other things, but you don't know how much time you need to be able to achieve this, then you end up not making sense in your long term financial goal. Then the other thing that you need to do after you've set your goal, you have to have action points. What am I need to do now? The short-term things that you need to do. Is it put money in this investment that is going to gain more money, and in the future I'll be able to achieve these things that I want to achieve? What are the action points? Is it to cut down on the unnecessary spending that you have been doing to be able to have more money go towards investment? You need to have action points, something that you can be able to check on yourself or have somebody ask the hard questions. If you say that I'm going to save 15% of my income, you need to have somebody to ask you, or you need to be able to ask yourself. That is an action point. If you want to buy and build a house, you need to have action points like do your research on where you can be able to buy land, on how you can be able to source raw materials. Action points. Action points allow you to be able to digest this long-term goal into something that is in chunks that are digestible. Because a long-term goal, if it is too big, can frustrate you. But when you have action points, it allows you to be able to digest it and divide it in chunks that are actually manageable. The next thing that you need to understand is there are alliances that you can be able to have. There are people who can be able to assist you. There is information that can be able to assist you reach your goals. If you're building a house, hang out with people who have built homes. They can be able to help you understand some things that even books cannot have for you. Even or YouTube videos may not have for you. Some information and some alliances can be able to help you. I met an interesting group of people, a group of friends who sat down and thought, we cannot be able to afford land, but we desire to have land. What do we do? They thought, why don't we buy a big chunk of land, which is going to be cheaper, and subdivide it among ourselves. So they went, they bought land, they subdivided amongst themselves. It is so funny because they did not get the numbers they were thinking, they ended up having an unorthodox sizes of pieces of land. So you have a piece of land between a quarter acre and a third of an acre, some funny size of land. This is simply because you divided it, and after you had subdivided it, you realize it does not come into the sizes that are mostly out there. So they ended up having several chunks of land and several things that they could be able to do. And because of their alliances they had, they were able to achieve this goal that looked so mammoth. And funny thing is, people talk about gated communities. They made it into a gated community kind of a thing. They even had a playground in Nairobi. They had a playground. They had spaces that they could go to have gatherings. Some things that you as a person may not be able to think or conceive of achieving, but they were able to do this. This simply because they're able to have alliances and ways to assist each other. Because when there is many people thinking about one great thing, opportunities to be able to do this thing even easily become available. So ensure that you have alliances where possible and people to assist you in achieving this goal. The other thing that you need to understand, the greatest asset you can have in your long-term plan is knowledge. Have knowledge. Knowledge is very key. The word of God, let me go to the Bible. The word of God says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. What is the reverse of that? People flourish for the presence of knowledge. That is why research says the people who read the most are most likely going to be successful in their careers and in their lives, in their finances, and even in how they raise their children. Many aspects of their life will be successful just by reading and acquiring knowledge more. You talk about people who are successful in business. You hear as you talk, you read the books and the autobiographies that are there. They make time to be able to read. Sometimes it's not even necessarily your field of study, because most people are conditioned to study or to read books associated with what they know. Sometimes it could be as simple as you're a doctor, but you're trying to learn about navigation. Some interesting thing can be able to allow you to have a mind that is open to the opportunities that are before you. People do not see opportunities simply because they do not know where to look into. But when you have the knowledge and you have the capacity in your mind, you're able to see things that you have never thought before. There's a Kenyan entrepreneur who began this business of having signs. So you have a street light and then you have a sign. Do you know that the person got the idea simply because of traveling to South Africa and seeing the same concept in operation in South Africa and thought, I've never seen this thing. And they were able to see it simply because they wanted to know, how does this country run? The acquisition of knowledge will make you flourish. Even in your long-term plans, having more knowledge will never go to waste. It will allow you to be able to achieve things much faster. It will allow you to be able to do things much simpler. The acquisition of knowledge allows you to have tools available to you, tools that are going to make your work easier in your attempt to achieve the things that you desire to be able to achieve. As a person, you also need to understand how to spot showstoppers. I meet a lot of people who are pursuing goals that are too ambitious and sometimes unreasonable. I met an individual who wanted to build a 5-bedroom house, all en suite for him and his family. And remember, he had 2 children and he wanted a 5-bedroom suite and was constantly in debt financing this big house. A showstopper, because you cannot even be able to breathe. You are struggling. You are constantly avoiding phone calls because of having a house that is essentially a financial showstopper for you. Look and see and find opportunities that are going to help you identify what is it that you can be able to do, and where has your long-term goal become unachievable, or where does it need to change. And then understanding the opportunities that come with knowledge, opportunities that come with several opportunities where you are. I remember there was a time I was saving for something and I put money aside and I put money aside and I put money aside. But I remember the stock market went down around the same time. So knowledge allowed me to know that the stock market is going down. So I bought shares at that time. Fine, I have this goal, but I was able to know that I need to stop saving because it's not gaining any additional revenue for me, but invested in the stock market because it was down. And by the time I was getting to look at getting my savings to be able to do this goal that I had, the value that I had in the stock market had gone up. So those are the things that you're able to identify. If I did not identify that having cash at that time was a showstopper in the sense that it did not give me value, then I would still be putting more money and would not have acquired the extra income that allowed me to reach my goal even faster. So identify showstoppers for you. Do not be a fool who is struggling with the same thing and do not know why you're struggling. Identify the showstoppers that can make your long-term goal become unachievable, frustrating, and irritating. The other thing, you need to learn how to set up contingency plans. Set up contingency plans. If this does not work, I need to do this. If this cannot do, I can be able to do this. Having a way to have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D for achieving this long-term goal that you want to achieve. So you want to build a house. Do you get a loan and build this house, or do you have a plan B where you save slowly and build a house and save slowly and slowly? Do you have a contingency plan? You need to be able to have contingency plans so that you can be able to fall back to another plan that can be more convenient for you. I remember I met somebody who was building a house, was building a house and they had built a house, but then before they entered this house, they felt the need to be able to travel and live in another country. It becomes frustrating when you wanted to think about it as a personal home. And if he was too invested emotionally in this home, he would not have seen the need to sell this house since he does not use this house. Sell the house and get the funding and invest in something since he's become now highly mobile. It is good sometimes to be able to spot and identify the contingency plans you need to do. Maybe you had the long-term plan of having a house, but now you have to move constantly because of work. Have a way to be able to set up contingency plans to allow you grow financially, yet be able to move your goalposts based on the conditions that you have. Then the other thing is to be able to understand sometimes you may need to add some things as you go. Maybe you set up your goal, but then you realize there are several things that you need to add. Having a rigid long-term goal will become frustrating if you cannot be able to adapt it to the changing conditions. Just like having contingency plans for ways of achieving the goal in different ways, you should also be able to have a way of making additions to your goal or subtractions to be able to make your goal more malleable to the opportunities and the threats that are available to you. So if you lose a job and you are doing something that is costing a lot of money in terms of cash flow, then you need to adjust to something that will give you more passive income that will allow you in the reduction of income to still make some money. It is important to be able to make long-term plans that have an ability to be malleable and flexible. You make good long-term plans and your short-term plans fall into place as they align to allow you to meet your financial goals. I hope that you are convinced to make a long-term plan. Do not live from hand to mouth. Do not live from paycheck to paycheck and hoping that somehow, miraculously, something happens and you're better off financially. Do not be that person who gets into retirement and struggles to feed themselves. You are constantly issuing threats to your children. Tuma pesa ama nitupe laana. You are that person simply because you never saw. You need to learn how to focus on the future so that you can be able to make your present align to the future that you desire to be able to have. Do not be caught up by circumstances and issues. Do not be caught unawares financially. Do not be in a place where you are in an oops moment. Oh, oops, I lost my job. It is a possibility, just like you found your job, you easily could have lost it. So you need to plan for that eventuality by having goals and plans for the long term so that there comes a time where you do not need to work. You work because you love to work, but you do not need to work. That is a desire that I have for every one of you. Hope you're learning, you're growing, and you're becoming better in your financial journey. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down in the comment section. Like this video. Thank you and enjoy your day.